Welcome, fellow Stardust. Are you ready for a scare? I see you've come back for more. If you're new here, buckle up. And thank you for joining me today. My name is DeRay, aka Rainbow Fright, lover of all things dark, creepy, and weird. For today's video, we'll be taking a look at 5 recently added films on Shudder. I love Shudder. They're always updating their library, and a lot of times they add some difficult to find horror films and older horror films. Shudder has been creating original movies since 2018, and I'll be talking about one of those films today, The Last Thing Mary Saw. And I'm going to save the best film for last. Let's get right into this list of films that have just been added to Shudder's library.
She's reckless, out of control, and it's pure evil.
First up is 2016's The Invitation, directed by Karen Kusama, who directed Girl Fight and Aeon Flux. It stars Logan Marshall Green, Tammy Blanchard, Jordi Villasuso, Michael Huisman, and John Carroll Lynch. Logan's character, Will, is invited to a dinner party by his ex-wife, Eden, at the home they once shared together 2 years ago. When Eden and Will lost their son, she took off to Mexico to live off the grid, and now has a new partner. Will shows up to the dinner party with his new partner, Kira, but something doesn't quite feel right to him. He thinks Eden's behavior is a bit off, considering that this is the first time they are seeing each other after their shared tragedy. And with new friends at such an intimate occasion, Will becomes even more suspicious. I picked this film on the list of recently added films because I've heard people saying that they really enjoyed it, and I was looking forward to liking it as well. I remember liking Girl Fight, but then again, Aeon Flux didn't get much love. I never got around to watching it though. But Karen also just directed the pilot of Yellow Jackets, and I was hooked after the first episode. However, I'm not too crazy about The Invitation. We had a pretty decent cast, and the premise, while not novel, is a fun one, which I can't explain too much without giving away spoilers. The ending was a bit redeeming, but overall, I found myself criticizing the film more than enjoying it. I wouldn't call this a bad film, but I wouldn't watch it again. That doesn't mean you wouldn't like it though, because like I said, I've heard a lot of people saying good things about it. But for me, the lighting and white balance was too yellow. The framing of some shots were distracting, and the sound was too echoey in a lot of parts. There was even a moment when I could hear Will tap his lavalier mic. I immediately thought of the film Coherence. That movie was a lot of fun, despite its shortcomings. The Invitation earns 2.5 rainbow skulls. Next up, we have The Last Thing Mary Saw, a Shudder original released in 2021. And a feature debut by director Eduardo Vitaletti. It stars Isabel Fuhrman, Stephanie Scott, Judith Roberts, and Rory Culkin. Here we have a talented cast who have all done amazing things in horror. Set in 1843, this folklore is a story of religious repression and forbidden love. At the start of the film, with her eyes poorly bandaged, Mary is interrogated about the events surrounding her grandmother's death. When we flash back to moments leading up to the matriarch's passing, we learn that Mary had been carrying on a relationship with the housemaid, Eleanor. Mary's family, who believes they are God's vessels, view this as an abomination and ruthlessly punish the young women. The Last Thing Mary Saw does a great job of creating a really spooky and moody atmosphere. With no way to escape, we go down a path of no return with the young women who seek to live a life free to love each other. This is another film that I thought I would enjoy a lot more because of the hype on the internet and the really solid cast, but I was again a bit let down. Things didn't get interesting until about halfway through the film when we see the grandmother do some pretty wicked things, but we don't get too much more of that until the very end. The lack of character development made the story feel hollow. There was no real meat or substance, and there were a lot of moments that had me asking, why? The creators compared the film to The Witch, and while the atmosphere may be similar, they are worlds apart when it comes to the writing and the impact they make. The Witch is chilling, and stays with you for a while after watching it. But with this film, you're left feeling unmoved, despite rooting for the passionate love between the young women. The Last Thing Mary Saw earns 3 rainbow skulls out of 5. Next on the list is Norwegian film Lake of the Dead, released in 1958. This film is directed by Kåre Bergstrøm and is considered to be Norway's 4th best film of all time. This is a story of a group of friends who go to a cabin in the woods to visit Lillian's brother, Bjorn. But when they arrive, Bjorn is missing and they find his dog dead near the lake. The group learns about an urban legend in which people who stay at the cabin are affected. When strange occurrences begin to happen, the group tries to figure out the mystery, as they are not quick to believe such tales. Even though the acting may have been a little exaggerated by the cast of theater actors, I was still able to really enjoy the story that was being told. The scenery was beautiful to look at, and the cabin was a bit claustrophobic, which added to this sense of impending doom. The pacing is right, every line of dialogue pushes us forward in the story, and the dynamic between the characters is fun to watch. We have a classic story of whodunit with one character, Bernard, who gives us a little comic relief from time to time. In reading about how creepy the atmosphere was from viewers, I was expecting a little more. However, the cinematography was very pleasing to the eye, and I did enjoy the stop-motion animation, which was a bit creepy, as well as the ghost scene by the lake, which was done by superimposing film. Unfortunately, the ending left more to be desired, and didn't quite feel like an ending, but rather a transition into a final act. I had a lot of fun with this one, and would recommend it to anyone wanting to check out the first cabin in the woods type movie that provides twists and turns that'll keep you guessing. Lake of the Dead earns 3.5 rainbow skulls. Then we have Alison's Birthday. This Australian film was released in 1981 and was directed by Ian Coughlin. Our leads are Joanne Samuel, Bunny Brooke, Vincent Ball, and Lou Brown. At the start of this film, Alison is warned during a seance with her friends to not go back home for her 19th birthday. 3 years later, days before her 19th birthday, she is strong-armed by her aunt to go back home to celebrate. Feeling anxious about the warning she received years prior, she accepts her boyfriend's offer to go with her on the visit. Upon arriving, she quickly regrets her decision to go on this trip. Unlike Lake of the Dead, the ending is what actually made me like this film even more. The seance at the beginning was a banging start and got me invested in the story. While the ending may have been predictable, it was still fun watching the story unfold. Rosemary's Baby vibes are strong in this one, as we try to figure out the ominous family secret. The music was fun and funky, yet creepy when it needed to be. The sound production is something I really appreciated in this older film. Our leads gave great performances which were easy to get lost in. As far as dislikes, for me, this film lacked more scare moments like we saw in the beginning. It was a bit slow, although normally I enjoy a good slow burn. However, there was just a little bit too much repetitiveness in the middle without moving the story forward. Overall, I recommend checking this one out. It earns 3.5 rainbow skulls. And last on the list is experimental short film The Runner, which is written, directed, and edited by band duo Boy Harsher. Chris Esfandari is the runner, and we follow her as she travels to a secluded town and descends deeper into her own hell. This movie was quite the pleasant surprise. The movie description on Shudder sold me right away. As soon as the film started, I was incredibly excited. In the first scene, the camera pushes in on the TV that is displaying static, but that static is replaced with a performance of the music we hear off camera. That right there made me so giddy. I knew right then I was in for a different kind of experience, and it just kept getting better after that. The band's music is the backdrop for the entire film, providing a nostalgic 80s atmosphere. We go back and forth between Boy Harsher performing for a public access channel and the journey of the runner. There's a sense of hopelessness, and tragedy looms over our lead's head. This short film is essentially a long music video. This got me thinking a lot about Fried Berry, which is a feature-length film but relies heavily on the music and visuals to tell the story. Fried Berry is one of my favorite films of 2021 and is also a Shudder original that is currently available to stream as well. There were just a few issues with the directing, but were easily forgiven considering the overall experience. We got some good gore and moments of fright throughout the film. We don't get too much of an ending, but I think it was intentional to illustrate the runner's perpetual descent, which is never ending. The end credits were a special cherry on top that I ate right up. I am now a Boy Harsher fan and Cooper Handy fan, who sings the song during the end credits. Their music takes you back in time with a modern dark wave feel. The runner earns 4 rainbow skulls out of 5. Well, there you have it, fellow Stardust. 5 recently added films on Shudder. Let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these and what your thoughts were. I'd love to hear them. I'll be back tomorrow with a full review of Malignant. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and hop on the Rainbow Fright freight train and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell. That way you'll be notified every Thursday and Friday when I upload a new video. I hope I see you next time. Peace.